I mean,
Yeah.
they're not supersizing her strength. They're having her do credibly desperate but effective things.
And they're well written. Sorry, Adam.
And the same with the nurse at the beginning that you mentioned.
Yeah.
When she was scrambling,
right.
she credibly kept him off of her a bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it all feels very grounded. I was just going to point out that you're talking about sort of her defensiveness being grounded in reality. And again, I would parallel that to the 2018 iteration where, yeah, it's grounded with, her use and expertise with all those rifles and guns, but it's a different type of aggression, right? She's on the defensive here, and she's using knives and kitchen tools, and what was there, like a flag she impales him with at some point in the
and then she tries to like spear throw the other end, and of course it's totally ineffective. It's like a 2.5 foot long thing, and it obviously doesn't work. But like she's trying, and she's trying some things that don't work.
Yeah. Well, I don't know your thoughts on it. I don't really have an opinion, but the nut kick is an amusing scene.
Okay, when that happened, though, I felt I was removed for a moment because even Wolfman has nards. I feel like we learned from Monster Squad, so I feel like he should have had a slight moment of pause.
No, I think they play it fine. I think you can look at it and it's sort of a Rorschach test, right? You're like, well, he looks like he reacted, but it's also Michael, and I don't think he reacted like a normal.
It's almost like the T-800 when it's getting beat up by the T-1000 and it's processing for half a second before it continues to act.
Good allegory, yeah.
Imagine if Michael's like, woo-wee.
And inside his mask, his mouth just goes wide.
His eyes go big.
Balls.
Right.
And I like his one-arm pull-up. They did that on the spot. The stuntman did it. It's
wonderful shot.
It's a solid thing. And also, I mean, I'm reading too into this. This is a scriptwriter's job, but she goes into a kitchen, pulls out a drawer, starts throwing knives. A knife gets stuck in the wall. He goes to stab her. She uses the drawer to block it. His knife gets stuck in the drawer. She then runs and grabs the knife that was there. So it's a well written out and planned scene in regards to the writers and Miner and the people playing that scene out. So like, it's good choreography. They thought it through. They did film one scene with a bunch of lights, so they had to go reshoot it, which is weird, that the initial diner scene. When Michael starts two-handing the tables, I think that's a really neat, good trailer moment.
I like how the chairs are flying along with it. It almost makes me think of like an End of Days moments where like almost like the shockwave is coming down the church in front of like Gabriel Byrne, and all of the pews shockwave up into the air. It was really neat. I really like that visual flair.
I think that's a good point. There's a few moments that don't involve kills, quote unquote, that are very iconic for this character. And I think a lot of that has to do with Chris Durand, who I guess he says he'd never seen the earlier movies and didn't want that to, influence his sort of characterization. But, whether that's true or not, fine, whatever. But I
never saw them?
That's why I don't buy it. I don't know if I buy that entirely. But my point is the scene with the chairs and the scene with the head tilts and Mark, to your point, where the one-handed, come down from the pipe. There are so many scenes, again, trailer moments, that I think are just so cool and sneaky, that aren't, excessive or brutal, that I think I really like about his characterization of the Shape, because he, and in his interviews, talk about trying to be like a cat, right? Like, you see people, these predators rather, in the wild, they lock onto their prey and they have this sort of hunch over. And he does that a lot in his walking. He doesn't just sort of do the George Wilbur thing where he's very upright and beefy and stoic. He does lean his head toward a little bit, and it looks like nothing else is going on. He's got tunnel vision. He's locked onto you, and he's coming for you. And I like that. I like that a lot, especially after, John, you mentioned the fire extinguisher scene. When he gets up, there's a very deliberate shot that follows him in front, and he's got his head tilted down. That to me is pretty scary. So I do like that sort of infusion of, how he sees cats hunt their prey.
Man, I love this movie, y'all. I love it. I love it. All right, so how about this? Let's take a quick break, and then when we come back, we will talk more Halloween H20. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Movies, Films, and Flicks. And I know this isn't really original, but there's an article out from Sci-Fi called This 41 Thoughts We Had While Watching Halloween H20 from Sci-Fi has some gems. And I just want to read them real quick to you guys, because the reason I'm doing this is to prove you right, Adam, from earlier. slightly right, mostly right. Joseph Gordon-Levitt scored the "and" credit in this movie.
Oh, that's it.
So I wanted to let you know. And then they're like, we never talk about Jamie Lee's obvious swollenness in this movie. Yes, Lionel Hamilton bulked up between Terminator 1 and 2, but Halloween H20 Laurie deserves to be included in that same category. Dem arms.
I don't even remember what they look like, and I'm sure they're fine.
And then I love it. Ronnie's girlfriend baiting his romance novel over the cell phone as relationship goals, honestly. Josh Hartnett doesn't care if a dude is his uncle, he'll punch him in the face. And then let's see.
That's right. I didn't even think of that it's his uncle.
Yeah, I love that scene. And then say what you will about this movie, but the scene where Laurie locks eyes with Michaels on the other side of that window is a beautiful moment of confrontation, and I half wish they replicated it in a rebootquel. And then Laurie calling Michael out to come get her while wielding a damn fire axe is a moment I always wish we talk about more. But I like these thoughts.
I agree on that point. Two things.
You mean when they locked eyes on either side of the
yeah. What a great trailer moment. Oh.
It's a great trailer moment, and that's one I neglected to mention. It's funny seeing the first cut footage with the old mask, because that does circulate still in some publicity shots, and it's such a terrible mask.
And again, that's a scene where you clearly see his eyes.
Yes, yes, and you kind of, there's no really way around it unless they really went out of their way to work the light.
Angle of light, yeah.
Yeah, but that paid off. I was going to say, you used this term a few times, rebequel?
Rebootquel.
I always heard requel.
Requel?
I guess if you're going to go with what is it again?
Rebootquel.
Okay, I guess.
Rebootquel?
It's a loaded word. All right, I'm adding that to my vocabulary now.
Because that's what I call Force Awakens. That's what I call Jurassic World.
Right.
And there's I had something good. Let's see. Oh, I do love when Michael goes out to attack and he gets his hands on Michelle Williams. I love that Josh Hartnett Jack Burton's him and just runs up to to save Molly. He just jacks Michael in the face 3 times, gets wonked away, gets stabbed. But I love Hartnett's scream when he gets stabbed. It's not, he's like, oh my God. Like, it's a legit, I'm dead. And then Molly whaps him with a rock.
Do you think cool. That after this movie, he graduated high school, went to police academy, and then became a sheriff in a small town in northern Alaska?
Yeah.
And became the kind of guy who would drink vampire blood and challenge a head vampire in a final showdown?
That's amazing. Maybe he moved because he knew about his mom.
Dude, him, LL Cool J, everyone's going off to bigger and badder monsters.
I buy that. Also, he likes blondes, so Melissa George is a badass in that movie. I'm not relegating her. I'm not being that but he gets Melissa George and Michelle Williams. He moves away because he knows Michael Myers is still alive, so he moves to Alaska. We know he's a fighter. I mean, it takes some guts to go whap your uncle 3 times in the face.
Or just Myers. Yeah.
What's up?
Or just Michael Myers, yeah.
I mean, he proves himself, right? That's a good scene. And for me, I know these are just scenes that should be written into a movie, so I'm not going to say this movie is Kurosawa-esque, that should be taught in every film school. But I guess it seems like people miss some little themes in this, and I like the scene with the pills. I like the minor scene with the wine. I like when his friend is like, "Why don't we just steal from your mom? She's an alcoholic," and he's like, "She's a functioning alcoholic. She'll know that stuff is missing." You're like, whoa! It's
right.
Even if you don't even buy it, they spent time writing that, so at least that's a good line.
So I call this movie lighter, and I liken it to I don't liken it to. I don't liken it to urban legend, but I liken it to more the way that tropes shifted a little bit in the 90s. That's how I'll say that.
Oh, clearly, yeah.
But I would liken it to I Know What You Did Last Summer. I don't think that's a bad movie, or Scream, which is a very good movie, right? I'll liken it to things like that. But oh God, where was I just going with that? I really swear I was going to go somewhere with that.
About how being
it is, but it isn't. What are you saying? It definitely follows the Kevin Williamson playbook, but it also doesn't.
I was going off of what you said, and I totally brain farted.
Yeah,
I really just brain farted. Guys, let's just take another direction.
I do want to say, in the first Scream movie, they're watching Halloween. In this movie, they're watching Scream 2.
Yes.
With weird scenes.
Yeah, with Sarah Michelle Gellar, Cece.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So,
you're brain farting.
What if Laurie Strode watched that? Wait,
Hold on.
wait, what?
Oh, what if Laurie Strode watched Scream and that helped freak her out?
Wait, but why would he be watching Wait, okay. Jamie Kennedy's watching Halloween.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're watching Scream 2.
Mm-hmm.
And that movie obviously was... So in their world, Halloween exists.
Whose world?
The movie. Halloween the movie
Well,
exists.
those people in Scream are actors that exist in the Halloween world.
I see where you're going with this. I just want to hear you articulate it in a way that isn't a complete galaxy brain theory, because I understand that certain characters exist in the real world in the confines of Scream, and then it's inverting that where those same real world characters exist in Halloween H20 that are almost it's like a Looking Glass type situation.
Would the world implode?
Listeners, I'm looking at Adam, and I feel like I see him on Skype. He's in a Batcave right now, but I feel like we just heard the Riddler. I think that the Riddler has Batman tied up, and that's Adam right now as he waxes poetic about inverse themes in meta movie.
Levengood trying to figure out how to Sarlacc pit could be a wide receiver right now.
That goes back to episode 4 of this podcast.
That's what I'm doing. But see, so Randy's
watching Jamie Lee Curtis.
Okay, so the only way this could happen is if Halloween was based on a real story.
Like Stab. Like the way Stab did.
Gosh.
You're hurting your head. So this is going to have to be your written opus, because clearly this is a lot to...
I feel like we need a whiteboard.
Yeah, no, this is a whiteboard.
So I realized what I was going to say earlier, too. So when I was making my 90s teen horror cycle and shifting the tropes and everything, despite the teenness of it, I did comment that I thought this was, in many ways, a more cleanly made film. Most of the filmmaking aspects seem smoother to me. This has a good constant crescendo of intensity. We don't get beleaguered by character backstory and exposition in the middle. It's all good stuff. This is one of the Halloween movies, and I will not say this about all of them, where I recognize more and more what it is, for better or worse, but we like the movie, but I'm just saying critically, every time I watch it. But I also just generally appreciate this movie more every time I watch it. So the first several times I saw this, if we go back to when I'm a teenager, if we go to me in my 20s, by the time that I probably saw Halloween a dozen times, if we go into me in my 30s, which I'm barely still in, but if we go to me in my 30s, where now I've probably seen all these movies at least 5 times, like the lowest one would be like 5 times, I have built a more significantly greater appreciation for this one. I only ever gained a little more appreciation for my 4, 5, and Curse, for example. From a filmmaking perspective, as a part of being a part of this podcast and hearing Mark teach me inadvertently a bit about behind the scenes in filmmaking and strategies and limitations, I appreciate parts 1 and 2 more. But really, this is the movie where I've had the biggest jumps over time per watch, if you will, of appreciation, because there is a lot in this. That's what I was jumping off of, whatever Mark was talking about earlier that I now completely forgot. But you were appreciating something about it, how there's a lot in this and how it just works well. Mm-hmm. And again, I think that's part of what leads me to call this one of the more rewatchables. It's not the film that John Carpenter first released, but it's a movie that I'm much more comfortable watching twice in a week.
I think that might be partly the virtue of this, that they clearly take so much from the less is more playbook from the first movie. You know, the team behind this wanted a simple story, right? It's a woman who survived, and 20 years later, what is she doing? And it's paced similarly, right? There is a build-up. You're not hitting that, kill per minute quota you're getting from other Dimension movies. So, yeah, I can see that. And I think.
Well, I'd say it's a very rich story. It's just that they tell us very little and they show us a lot. So it goes at a very fast pace.
Well, right. But I would argue. No, I agree with that. I would just say that, look, it's not Halloween 6, which, if you want to talk about the story there, it's the relatives of the Myers, the living
story,
and the curse. And well, I'm saying 20 years later, a survivor who's hiding, confronts an anniversary and, he's back. That's it. The rest is
okay. I got you.
Texture. You're getting all these wonderful little characters and details, Mark, you mentioned, and it's not, blown up to be this sort of convoluted script. So that's really all I meant to say by that.